because I got back home, and shortly after, like, do I go back to school and be broke, or do I want to be an 18-year-old that's kind of making pretty good money at the time, or 19-year-old? You know, I re-enlisted. I ended up in 101st Airborne, and like, you know, to my proudest moment, I ended up in actually the most decorated unit in the whole entire army. You know, so but then the standards are really really high, right? So it was hard.
How long had you served when you re-enlisted?
I believe I had like a good 2.5 years already when I
Okay.
re-enlisted, and yeah. Anyway, I ended up in the 101st, and we ended up becoming that brigade. Ended up becoming Rakkasans. You know, we ended up becoming the most deployed unit in the whole United States Army or military even. You know, I can't speak for the guys that work on the shadows. You know, but definitely as far as regular army is concerned, yeah, every Rakkasan know what we did. You know, we definitely were the most highly deployed. Unfortunately, there's a payoff to that. We were also leading the way for suicide rates. And for me personally, the hardest deployment I had to do was the second one for me was in the Sunni Triangle in Osad. And you guys want to Google that, like,
The Sunni Triangle
yeah.
in Onasai?
The Sunni Triangle is what they call the Triangle of Death. It was actually the worst place to be in Iraq at the time. It's the most dangerous place. Nobody really goes there. So they call them the Sunni Triangle because it's like Yusufia, Tulufia, and Mahmudiyah, I believe, and we're like somewhere in the middle, you know. And the biggest turning point. This is like the turning point, for, at least from my perspective, in regards to.
What year are we? So we have some relative
I
context.
believe it's 2007 all the way to 2009.
Okay.
I believe, you know. Yeah. So it was a 14-month deployment, and this is bad. Like, this is when people were getting extended and stuff, you know. We relieved Tent Mountain. So there was like, you know, prior to that, like before we even went, some of the guys in Tent Mountain, they had some American soldiers kidnapped and they were still missing. And we had to do this huge operation. Probably one of the biggest operations I've ever had undertaken. It was huge. It's like stuff out of the movies, you know? Like growing up as a kid, I got to do it in real life.
Right.
It was called Operation Martin Courageous. And Operation Martin Courageous was this huge air assault missions, you know, and we went in there basically, and we were actually one of the very first ones to be out of the helicopter, and it was
Okay.
at night, and you know, they thought that it was going to be something like a lot of casualties and whatever, but with the Lord's blessing, you know, nothing happened. It was just really rough, you know, like it was like a whole month's worth of just walking around, you know, and no showers, no running water, no food, no electricity. We had food, but it was MREs. We didn't have like, you know, food like what people deployed are accustomed to, you know.
Right.
But you know, you just for the first couple of like for the first month, it was freezing. You know, we all like literally the whole platoon's bundled up in just one room for warmth.
So take us to that moment when you saw the opportunity for Enerzen.
14 months of being deployed there, it was just like you know, the hottest I've ever seen. It was 145 degrees. You know. And back then, you know, every soldier in the every soldier or infantry for that matter, 145 degrees, but guess what? You know, you're not allowed to roll your sleeves up. You got to have your sleeves. You got to have gloves. You have to have your vest, which is about 45 pounds. You have to have a scroll protector. If you're gunning, you have to have, like, the shoulder pads, you know, the shield, and, you know, and then your helmet, you know? So, and if we're light infantry, so we do dismounted patrols all the time. So on top of that, you're carrying, like, all together with your weapon, ammo, and everything, you're close to 100 pounds.
Wow.